Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of Deep True Crime. I'm Manny Rodriguez. In today's episode, I'm sharing with you the shocking story of the stepdad, Timothy Lee Wilson, who has been convicted and sentenced to 2 life imprisonments for child abuse on an 11-year-old boy. Another shocking twist to this is the mother of this boy allowed it to happen. But we have a hero at the end of this story. The person who spoke up when she saw something wasn't right and she wasn't going to sit back and watch this occur. Let's go ahead and dive into the story. Timothy Lee Wilson and Kristen Swan, they go into a restaurant, Mrs. Potato Restaurant, with their 2 kids, 11-year-old boy and a 4-year-old girl. While at the restaurant, they're sitting, they're eating. The waitress notices that there's a boy at one of their tables who seems to be a little not okay. And so she keeps an eye on this table. They sit exactly in this spot. You can see there's a little walkway towards the back there. And so they're sitting there just like this. You can see the mom, you can see the 4-year-old girl, you can see the little boy in the corner, and he's facing down that little hall there. And so the waitress, she comes out to check on the table, and as she's checking on the table, she knows right from the get that, okay, something's not right about this table. And that poor little boy does not seem okay. And so she continues to keep an eye on the way they're interacting, the way they're associating with him. And so she realizes that he's secluded from the rest of the family, wasn't offered food or drink, and she noticed he had injuries on him. She noticed injuries on his arm. She notices that he has a cut between his eyebrows. And she notices a little while later, as she comes back to the table, that there looks to be a bruise next to his eye now. She's worried about the little boy. And so the waitress, standing back on that hallway where I showed you, now this reporter from clickorlando.com, she was demonstrating the distance that the waitress was at. So this should help give you an idea in reference to that hall that I showed you earlier. So you see the waitress is down in there where only hopefully the boy can see. And so while mom and dad are eating, they're focused on their food, she holds up a sign. At first, she does show a sign, and he first, kind of scared to even speak up. And so she's like, I'm not letting this go. And so then she writes another note. Do you need help? This time he does say yes. And so this restaurant manager calls like the restaurant owner to say, this is what's going on. I'm gonna call 911 just to let you know. And then she calls 911 and she says to them,
do you need the police or the paramedics there?
I don't know. I need you. I don't know what to do. I'm a manager of a restaurant.
Do you need the police or the paramedics there?
I don't know. I need you. I don't know what to do. I'm a manager of a restaurant, and we have some customers here with 2 kids. One of the kids is with a lot of bruises on his arms and on his face. Okay. And the parent is not done giving food for him, but is giving to the another kids that are with them. And the one is so quiet, and I asked him on a paper if he needs help. And first he turned his head saying that no, but he keep looking at me, and I write in another paper if he needs help again. And he make me a sign that yes, he needs help. So I don't know what to do.
Okay, so are they at the restaurant right now?
Yes.
Okay, what's the name of the place?
It's Mrs. Potato Restaurant.
Mrs. Potato Restaurant?
Mrs. Potato,
And so officers arrived on the scene and they interviewed the parents and they interviewed the child. And so they asked him to lift up his sleeve of his sweatshirt. And as he's doing that, he winces in pain from the bruises. And so the boy was taken to the hospital where doctors discovered that he was 20 pounds underweight and had extensive bruising covering most of his body. And police said that the boy's parents subjected him to various forms of abuse, including forcing him to do 30-minute planks and beating him if he failed. And at a press conference, a police spokesperson said what this child has gone through, it was torture. Seeing what the 11-year-old had to go through, it shocks your soul. The boy told police that ratchet straps were tied around his ankles and neck, and he was hung upside down from a door on one occasion. He said he was hit with a wooden broom and handcuffed and didn't get to eat on a regular basis as punishment. As they're continuing to look into the boy's home life, this is where they quickly determined that yes, he has been tortured, maliciously punished, and deprived of food and water for days at a time. And that's exactly what the restaurant manager noticed of the kid. He did not have anything to drink. He did not have any food to eat. And so a search warrant revealed that this little boy was kept in a separate hotel room used for storage, away from Mr. Wilson, away from his mother, and away from his younger sister. They also see that there's duct tape that's covering the peephole to the boy's room. They also say that he was handcuffed to a dolly cart on Christmas Day. And they recovered multiple items that were used as weapons: a bent metal pole, a wooden broom, a dolly cart, handcuffs, and ratchet straps used to tie the victim up. A few days after the investigation would begin, Kristen Swan would be arrested because she failed to intervene or even to stop this abuse, and she was charged and found guilty of child neglect. The biological mother, she said she knew the abuse was taking place. And so she ended up pleading guilty after first pleading not guilty. And one person, Special Victims Unit Detective Erin Lawler, she said if Miss Carvalho would not have said something when she saw it, that little boy would probably not be with us much longer. And it makes me think of stories like Harmony Montgomery, who disappeared. No one reported her missing for 2 years. 2 years before anyone said, "Where's this little girl that was with you all the time?" Miss Carvalho, she has since become an outspoken advocate for child abuse prevention, and she spoke to dailymail.com. She pleaded the importance that anybody who sees something they think might be abused should say something about it. She says, "I feel relieved and with a sense of justice, gratitude that he got what he deserved. I also feel happy because the best thing is that the boy now lives a healthy life, protected and receiving a lot of love, affection, care, and respect." She also says that the boy has been reunited with his biological father. She believes that justice was served in the conviction of Wilson and the boy's mom. It took the jury just 2 hours to return guilty verdicts on all 10 accounts. And our hero, they created a Child Welfare Recognition Day. This is at the Mrs. Potato restaurant in honor of what this heroic restaurant manager did. And that's where I say, it's like, would you have done something if you saw that? Would you have intervened? That's why I do this channel, because I want us to be alert and aware. This is what could go wrong. Would you have stepped it up? Would you have said something? I'd like to think I would have definitely said something had I been paying attention like the way she was. And that's the whole thing that I'm always trying to do, is be aware of your surroundings. Don't just write things off just to write things off, because you could save someone's life. This heroic lady saved someone's life. I love how they honored this Orlando restaurant manager with a proclamation. Nikki Fried, she presented Flaviane Carvalho with a Florida cabinet proclamation in recognition of her efforts. Miss Fried, she says, "It's so inspirational, and hopefully being able to be here today and telling your story that we can inspire others to be as heroic. You saved somebody's life." The proclamation declares January 28th, 2021 as Flaviane Carvalho Child Advocacy Day in the state of Florida. And Carvalho, she says, I didn't expect anything like that. And following this proclamation, that's when she shared a message about her experience and what people can take away from it. She says, please, if you see something, especially against kids and old people, the most vulnerable, don't be afraid to do something about it. And she definitely did something about it. After he was convicted in June, an Orlando judge told Timothy Lee Wilson he had utterly failed not only in the role of parent, but simply in the role of human being. During his sentencing, Judge Wayne C. Wooten said, for those reasons, I'm going to impose the sentence that the law allows me to impose, although candidly, in many ways, I feel like it is short of what you thoroughly and richly deserve. There you have it, my friends. The shocking story of stepdad Timothy Lee Wilson committed such child abuse. He was given 2 life imprisonments, so he should never see the day of light. I have to agree with that. He should not see a day of light. You do not do this to children. You do not do this to anyone. But a child, a defenseless 11-year-old child, is horrific. Horrific. Just as law enforcement described. This is horrific. I'm Manny Rodriguez. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to serving you again. Peace.